Hi, this is your host Swapnil Bhartiya, and we are here at the Open Infrastructure Summit in Denver, Colorado. And today we have with us Jonathan Bryce. You don't need any introduction, so I will not even get into that. This summit is incredible from a couple of points of view. First of all, I find it's very concentrated. So all the conversation I have had in the last 2 days, like pure gold kind of thing as compared to bigger events. So what has been your kind of observation?
Yeah, I agree. I've definitely seen the same thing, and I think that one of the things that we have done this year is we've actually transitioned our events to this Open Infrastructure Summit versus what we were doing last year, for the 2 previous years, where we had OpenStack summits, and then we had what we called the PTG, or the Project Teams Gathering, and the thing that we have as kind of our top goal for this event is we want to bring together users and developers and vendors across a broad array of projects so they can collaborate together in one place and get that really valuable in-person time they need to kind of get work done. And we've thrown very large events, we've thrown very small events, and I think that one of the things that's kind of funny is if you go back a few years, we were in Austin, we had 8,000 people, and we're like, hey, that's a pretty good event. But after the event, a large number of the developers, and even during the event, they were like, it's really hard for us to get the work done that we need to get done because this event is too big.
I know, yeah.
And so what we did is we actually split the developer portion of that, a good chunk of that, into a new event called the PTG. And so we did that for a couple of years, and I think that what we started to feel is that kind of creates too many events. It sort of segments the community, and so for this event, we wanted to bring everybody back together and have something it's smaller than an OpenStack Summit, which was 8,000, larger than a PTG, which was 400 to 500, and somewhere in the middle, and get that mix going. And so I think your statement that it's very concentrated is totally true. We have the highest number of kind of technical participants at this event that we've had. Still have 51 countries, so a really broad array of representation from different organizations. And we have, in addition to the OpenStack projects, about 30 other open source projects who are here and participating this week. And so I know those are the kinds of things that we wanted to see with the new event. Now we're only on day 3, and we've got another 3 days of the event, continuing a lot of collaboration sessions. So when we get to the end of it, we'll look back and we'll say, did that work? Did it drive more collaboration? Did it result in better software, which is ultimately the real goal? And did it help people adopt open source? And so I feel good about it where we are, but I'm not declaring victory because this is the first time that we're doing it, and we'll definitely have tweaks and updates that we want to make to it as we go along. Right,
yeah, you'll keep fine-tuning the machine. When we look at the adoption of OpenStack, it's global, in Australia, Asia, Europe. When you organize an event like this, you can only attract certain, not everybody can attract.
Right.
So while there is an importance of events like this, how do you help local communities so that they can do something locally also? Do you do something there as well?
Yeah, so we have a broad set of user groups that are all over in dozens of countries and that do regular meetups. We also do kind of bigger regional events in Asia and Europe every year. We call them OpenStack Days or Open Infrastructure Days, kind of depending on what the focus of the event is. And this year I'll be, we already had one in the UK. I'll be going to Japan and Korea later this year. And we have a few more on the schedule in Europe in the fall. But one of the biggest things we do is we actually move this kind of main event around a lot, which creates work, for our team, because we never do the same place twice in a row, and that's very deliberate on our part. If we just went to Santa Clara every year or to San Francisco every year, I think that we would really be excluding a large part of our community, as you mentioned. And one of the things that I'm excited about is we'll be going to Shanghai in November, and as you said, people can't always travel to the U.S. They can't always travel to Europe, and we have a very, very large user base and contributor base with a lot of developers in China, many of whom have never been able to come to kind of the main event. So I'm really excited to be able to take the summit to mainland China and bring kind contributors from elsewhere in the world to have time with that community and that part of our community and let the developers there really get a full experience of a PTG and a summit and kind of the full collaboration.
It makes a lot of sense to go there instead of asking them to come all the time.
Yes, yeah, and it's the region where we've seen the fastest growth in the last 2 years, I think it is, in our user survey. The thing that also is really fun about the community in China is that they have a very broad set of use cases. So it's not just technology companies like Huawei and Tencent and others that are using it, but there are a number of banks, there are insurance companies, the China Railway Corporation, which runs the largest train network in the world.
I interviewed them.
The power
also.
company.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's incredible stories. There's so many stories. Yeah.
So it's really fun because you go there and you're all still talking technology, but you're getting exposed to a variety of needs because it's just such a breadth of industries.
It's changing. I mean, it's affecting people's day-to-day lives.
Yes,
It's not hardcore true technology that nobody never ever.
Yeah, exactly.
Now let's from the structure of the events. Let's talk about the structure of the project in our future. How do you see the evolution of OpenStack itself over the years?
Yeah, it's been a very exciting 2 years, I think, in kind of core OpenStack, that software, because when OpenStack started, cloud was growing like crazy. It was very, very hot part of the market, but cloud was primarily focused on sort of making it faster to get a virtual machine, and that was really back in 2010 and after. That was kind of the entire focus of it. And now, as you look forward, we see bare metal and high performance workloads. We see accelerators, GPUs, FPGAs. We see different types of storage, different types of networking, different types of deployment models out on the edge, inside of telecom networks. And so it's been awesome to see how cloud has gone from just kind of fast access to virtual machines to really a way to deliver all of the compute, storage, and networking that people are consuming and building going forward. And as that trend has happened in cloud, we've seen the same things happen in the OpenStack project. And we talked a lot about Ironic this week, which is the bare metal project inside of OpenStack. And it's been around for a while, but in the last 2 user surveys that we've done, it's gone from 9% of production clouds were running Ironic to 25% or so. So very, very rapid growth. And we also have seen an uptick in people who are building clouds of accelerators. So rather than just giving some data scientists some GPU workstations, they're actually putting GPUs in their data center and creating a platform where the organization as a whole can request those self-service APIs and get access to GPUs. And so that to me is really interesting, to see how infrastructure is evolving and to see the OpenStack development community keeping up with that.
Right. I think 2 or 3 years ago there was a focus on adjacent communities as the structure. So what is the role Airship is playing, and how, because there are a lot of components, the containerization is happening, Kubernetes is also being used. Can you talk about that?
Yeah. So you're right. A couple of years ago we started talking very frequently about integrating across multiple open source projects, multiple open source communities, and we still talk about that. Was my keynote was pretty much that was the theme of it, and I think that is so important and so needed in the open source space today. Airship, for me, is one of the most important projects that we've worked on because it exists as an integration and operations project for a variety of open source projects. It has OpenStack services in it. It has Kubernetes components in it. It has Ceph for storage. It integrates different networking layers, and it does it in a way where these aren't kind of just totally separate pieces. It integrates them together. So Kubernetes is integrated into Keystone and for authentication, and Ceph is available both into virtual machines and in the containers. And it creates a whole system that lets their application teams deploy an application on a virtual machine into a container and manage it all the way down to the physical hardware. And so that to me is almost like the vision that we've had implemented in code. And I think that it's a really interesting and valuable project. And I'm very proud of that team for for getting to their 1.0 release. And it's also just exciting because it's being used in production in AT&T right now. So this is not just kind of a science project or a theoretical thing. It's like running real world workloads right now.
Yeah, because I recall a few years ago, John Nolan, he announced, LCOMP, the white paper, and then they open sourced it, and it became a different project altogether. So, and I think now Airship community is working on governance model.
Yeah.
So how does OpenStack Foundation help these projects because governance is very important.
Yeah.
So how do you help them with this model?
Yeah. So within the broader open source world, there are all kinds of opinions on governance, and within the OpenStack Foundation in our community, we have we call them the 4 opens, and it's open source, open community, open development, and open design, and we think that those are actually all aspects of what creates a healthy and sustainable development process and kind of organization in a way. So that's sort of the philosophy that underpins how all of our projects act. When you get down to the exact governance model, there's variation. Sometimes like OpenStack has a technical committee and then each project has kind of underneath OpenStack, Nova, Swift, Cinder, they have their own leadership model in there. Kata Containers has an architecture committee and a set of maintainers that oversee all of their components. And so what we try to do is we try to work with each project to think about how big is this project going to be, how many contributors, how many components, what's the kind of the pace of change. And as you look at that, then you start to be able to apply the patterns that are available in open source and decide what's going to be the most effective way to kind of make good software and allow new people to come in and contribute. And so Airship is kind of kicking that process off right now. And I think they've looked at some of the things from the OpenStack project and also some of the things from the Kata Containers project as inspiration for how they want to design it out. And it's always very, very, very much in concert with the contributors. At the foundation, our role is not to say, here's exactly how you must do things. But we've done a lot of open source and we've seen things work and things that didn't work. And so it's very collaborative with the teams as they define how they want to work. And then we give them advice and we say, this may be something to think about. This could be an issue here. That sounds really good. And work to develop like an actual governance process. The way that we have structured our project onboarding within the OpenStack Foundation is there's a period of time where the project is we call it a pilot phase. And it's the time when the project is creating its processes to write software, to review software, to release software, and then also to govern all of that. And it gives the project a kind of support system to work all of that out and then to try it in reality and see, have they created a collaboration that can produce software at the end of the day. And so, Airship has obviously got a process that's producing software, and I think, as they establish their governance, that's going to be a really key part of kind of setting themselves up for the long term.
The community makes all the decisions, right? You don't go in there, you just facilitate them, you bring your experience, your infrastructure to help them, right? To achieve what they want to do.
At the final step of it, the board of directors of the foundation reviews the projects and basically confirms that they should be a top-level project or not. We'll call it project confirmation. And that's sort of the graduation point. The thing that I think is significant about that is it's not like, you're not a serious project until the board confirms you. It's really the board is saying you have proven that you have an open collaboration that's productive, that's effective, and congratulations on that. It's sort of a recognition of the milestones that the project has achieved during their pilot phase.
When you mentioned AT&T, I could not stop thinking about 5G. And I think open source and OpenStack is playing a big role in enabling, because I cannot even imagine what kind of services I'll be able to access. I'm heavily into, I just order Oculus Quest, I don't even know what I'll be able to access. And without them, we cannot. So So what role do you think open source and OpenStack is playing, in these new technologies that,
Well, one of the things that's very exciting to me is that if you look at a lot of the first deployments of 5G, open source is a primary way that technology is being delivered, and in many cases, OpenStack is in there. I think that so it's kind of like we have the early lead in terms of open source. We're the early leader in 5G, but as the deployments continue to roll along, there are going to be new demands. Like you said, you can't even know what it's going to enable for you in your life. And I think that when the iPhone came out, AT&T has talked about this a lot. It basically changed the business they were in. They used to be in the business of delivering text messages and phone calls. Now they were in the business of delivering video streams and games and all of the mobile data intensive applications that smartphones have really delivered. And I think that when I look at that, what I think about is it's great that a lot of this is built on OpenStack, but we can't think that our work is done in open source in general, because I think that new applications, whether it's AR and VR, and people talk about that, or telemedicine, or transportation, drones, and autonomous vehicles, and all this kind of thing, that's going to put new strains on the network in different ways, and also create incredible new business opportunities.
Exactly.
And open source components like OpenStack and Kubernetes and the networking systems are all going to have to adopt and evolve at a really rapid pace to support all of that and to kind of achieve the full potential of it.
Yeah, we cannot even imagine, like, for example, when Netflix came out with the show, interactive show, but the bandwidth was a bottleneck, because it's not one-way traffic now, you're sending back. So that will enable a lot of, different mode of entertainment as well. We cannot even imagine.
Right.
I think we have covered some basics, right? Because we can sit and talk for hours. But do you think, or there is something else you want to talk about?
I don't know. I think we covered a lot of ground. Yeah, it's good.
So I'll just talk a personal question, and that is like, you talked about music, at your keynote. So what do you do in your free time? What is your hobby?
Well, it's kind of funny because this week I actually just got a piano at my house in Austin. And yeah, I mean, music has always been a big part of my life, and at times I've been too busy to do it as much as I would like. But yeah, I mean, I always have a few instruments around the house that I play, and I love the outdoors and running and that kind of thing. But yeah, I'm very excited to have a piano back in my house now, and I have to kind of be aware of how much time I spend on it, because I'll sit down there in the evening and just like get distracted on the piano for hours. But I think that there are a lot of musicians in our community and in technology industry, and I think that it's something that has a lot of components of math and science to it, but is also an outlet that's artistic and creative. Yeah,
you mentioned that,
And in some ways, that's kind of what software development is like. There are parts of it that are very much kind of hard science, and you're going to write code that performs well or doesn't perform well. But ultimately, in terms of the experience of your software, the experience that your users have, there's a little bit of art and creativity to that. And I love things that are like that mixture.
Yeah. So SUSE, they have their own band. At the SUSECon, they have, So can we expect, like, in next summit that you will have the grand opening, like Elton John style piano play? Can we expect that?
I don't know. So when we've done the PTGs before, we've stayed in hotels that had pianos in the lobby, and we've actually had just kind of like impromptu. we call it piano karaoke, and I or somebody else will sit down at the piano, and people will gather around, and they will just throw out a song. Like here when we were in Denver, somebody said, John Denver, Country Roads, and Colorado Rocky Mountain High, and everybody just sings. And somebody requested some Metallica, and we sing.
So why don't we just do it at the next summit?
Yeah,
that would be cool. Just the whole band from the community. Yeah. That would be awesome.
It's a good suggestion. Yeah. We should definitely find a way.
And you'll save a lot of money with the DJs and everything too. And it'll be cool also. Okay, Jonathan, thank you so much for talking to me today.
Yeah, thank you.
And of course, I'll be seeing you at the next conference.
All right, good to see you.